Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Paulina. In today's video I want to discuss pros and cons of living in Germany. I've moved to Germany almost 2 years ago after living in Spain for 6 years, and a lot of the things that I'm discussing are based on me comparing my experience in two countries. So if you're thinking about moving to Germany and you're wondering whether this country is for you, continue watching this video. So yeah, it should be said that in general, every country is different and every person is different. So the way you experience one country is going to be completely different, can be completely different than how I experience it. So again, my background is I'm Russian, so that definitely also impacts the way I perceive this country. And I was living in Spain for 6 years, which is quite a long time, and I have adapted a lot of the Spanish way of living, so that also definitely impacted the way I perceive Germany. Just keep in mind that everything I'm sharing is just my experience. So let's start with pros. The first thing is Germany has quite high standard of living in general. Again, it's gonna be very different depending on where you come from. Since I'm Russian and I was living in Spain before that, I know the salaries in that country, I know the prices in those countries, I know the situation in those countries. Germany has quite a high standard of living, meaning the minimum salary in Germany, for example, is still higher than in many other countries. So even if you have a really minimum salary, you can afford more things than in some other countries. Things like unemployment benefits or education, medicine. Germany is a very modern, developed country, so the standard of living is high, and that's definitely a big pro. The next thing that I wrote down in pros, but it can also come up in cons actually, it's that Germany has this really kind of calm way of living. It does depend a lot on the location and on your personality and what is your preference, but I don't think anyone is against kind of calm way of living. Like, nobody wants to have a stressed way of living, right? It definitely can be a little bit boring if you're living in a smaller town, in kind of a countryside area, and you just have that personality that you want things to happen, you want to go to events and just to do a lot of things. So that's why this point is also in cons as boring, but right now we are talking about pros. And yeah, Germany is a really kind of a calm country. I live in a town of about 17,000 people, and in the evening the streets are really almost empty. People go to their homes quite early. People are generally not loud. It's just kind of a calm atmosphere. And if you are an introvert, or even if you're extrovert but you just kind of enjoy this calmness and quietness, that can definitely be a big pro for you. The next point is kind of controversial, but I wrote it down. Again, it's something that can come up as both positive and negative, and it's the weather. It depends a lot on the area of Germany. North Germany has kind of a worse weather, if you can say that. There is more wind, more rains than south of Germany, where I'm living. But still, even in Bavaria, where I'm living, there is quite a lot of rains throughout the year. It's quite cold in winter and most spring and autumn, to be honest. There's a lot of gray days, but it's actually really good in terms of environment. Again, I'm comparing it to Spain, and from outside you can see that Spanish weather is perfect. It's always sunny, it's warm. But the thing is, it's a huge problem when there is no rains. Yes, it's definitely nice that you don't have to constantly struggle with rains and you can do more stuff outside, but also it's a huge problem, especially now, this year. There is a huge problem of droughts. There is a lack of water in Spain. They're putting restrictions on water. It's a huge problem. And that's why when I say that German weather is a pro, that's what I mean. The rivers are full of water, the forests are green, which is another point, and it's that the nature in Germany, it's really beautiful because of this weather. My baby woke up and it's now 2 hours later. I don't remember what exactly I was talking about, so I'm just going to move to the next point. The next pro is good medicine, and there are certain things that I'm not a fan of when it comes to German medicine, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in the cons part of the video. But when it comes to quality and what you get for having basic insurance, like meaning free medical coverage, you know, I feel like you get quite a lot of things covered. And specifically my experience with German medicine was mainly about being pregnant, having birth in Germany, and I cannot really compare it to other countries because I haven't done it in other countries. But from what I heard, at least comparing to Spain or some other countries, I'm really happy with how my experience was in Germany. And if you want to know more specifically about like pregnancy in Germany and giving birth, I have an entire like huge video about that. But yeah, generally I was very happy with personnel treatment, with the facilities and everything like that. Very happy with my daughter's pediatrician, for example. But generally, yeah, I would say medicine in Germany is really good quality, at least in my experience. The next pro is that Germany is very safe. Of course, again, it depends on the location of where you're living. Like big cities are generally a bit more dangerous, there is more crime, but smaller towns, I feel really safe. And there is like a bunch of other things that you just see here on the street, like people leave things outside, not being afraid that somebody will steal them. A couple of times I actually forgot to lock my bike and nothing happened. In autumn you can get pumpkins on the side of the road and you just have to put some money, like completely on a trust basis. Things like this that make you feel like, yeah, there is a lot of trust going on in that area. And the last pro that I wrote down for myself is that Germany has a pretty good location when it comes towards other countries. It's the center of Europe, and that makes it really quite convenient to travel around Europe. Like wherever you fly within Europe, I feel like it's not gonna be more than 2.5 hours, literally, because Germany is located so centrally. Germany has a lot of really big airports like Frankfurt, Munich, Berlin. You can fly literally all around the world, so that also makes it a huge plus and a convenience, yeah, when it comes to like flying back to your home country to visit your family or just traveling in general. Alright, let's move to cons. The first thing that I actually wrote down is difficult language, and when I say that, like, I don't find Germany that difficult. For example, I was learning Finnish, and that's like a whole other level. Like Finnish is one of the most difficult languages literally on the planet. German is much easier than that. But still, comparing to like Latin languages, Spanish, Italian, French, German is more complicated. And I lived in Spain for 6 years. I became really fluent after that time. In Germany, I've been living here for 2 years, but I was learning German way before moving here. And I don't feel at all having the same level, like, and I'm not sure that I'm ever gonna be like completely fluent in German. Like, it's just more difficult, it's just much more nuanced, the vocabulary is just so much more complicated than, yeah, Latin languages. And that leads to the next point, and the next con is that it's very difficult to connect with people. One of the reasons is that you don't speak German fluently enough to kind of be able to communicate on the same level as the locals here. So that's definitely a huge factor. But also it's not just the language. Like generally, you know, you probably heard it many times, but German people are generally quite closed and a little bit reserved. So it really is difficult to connect with them. Like after 2 years, I don't have a single German friend, and I went to all these courses in German, and I feel like if I did the same in other countries, like in Spain, I would already end up like actually having friends, or at least, yeah, like some acquaintances in Spanish with Spanish people. But here, like nothing really led to me, yeah, making a connection or developing friendships with the locals. Now, of course, there are exceptions to these rules, and of course you can make friends with Germans. There are definitely Germans who speak really good English, which also makes it probably easier to build friendships here. But in general, like comparing to other countries, again to Spain, for example, this is not just my opinion. I've heard it many times that it's quite difficult to connect to Germans and to really kind of, yeah, build friendships. The next thing is my personal pain, and it's the food. Again, of course, it all depends what you compare it to, but I don't know, I think that objectively, seriously, this is like one thing that I'm never going to change my opinion, and this is something that I really set my mind on. But German food really sucks. If you live in a big city, you will not realize it that much because you will have plenty of like places to eat out, all kinds of restaurants like in Berlin, in Munich. You can find everything. But if you live in a somewhat average or smaller city, like the food just sucks. In my town, there is plenty of restaurants, and 90% of the time you get literally schnitzel, French fries and sausages. And that's it. Like wherever you go, that's all you get. Oh, and sauerkraut, of course. I forgot about that. And after living in Spain for such a long time, which Spain has, in my opinion, one of the best cuisines. Like in general, Mediterranean cuisine is like amazing. But yeah, this is what you get, and I don't really understand why. I mean, I'm not talking about like wanting seafood or things like these that are obviously like more complicated to find if there is no sea around the corner, but just like normal things. People here just really don't appreciate food, so there is no new restaurants opening up, and if there is a new restaurant that's opening up, which yeah, sometimes happens in our town, and for some times it's like all exciting, but after a while people stop coming and the businesses end up closing. I really don't understand what's the deal here with the food, but for me, yeah, this is one of the like really painful things. I just already gave up like eating out. We just don't go out to eat anymore. So yeah, if you're a foodie and you really enjoy like different cuisines and stuff, like Germany is not for you, go to Spain or Italy. That's where you're gonna be happier, I think. The next thing is weather, and as I said, this is something that I put in pros, but as well in cons, because yeah, like I just feel really weird talking about the weather because there is no perfection. Like there is no, I don't think there is a country in the world where the weather is perfect. Like there is a perfect amount of sunny days and perfect amount of rains and like mild winter, but also like not too hot and variety. Like this just doesn't exist. So I feel really weird complaining about the weather and like discussing the weather, because as I said, like on the one hand, rains and yeah, just like having a colder climate is good in terms of environment, the land and everything, but on the other hand, winter in Germany sometimes gets so long, and this eternal gray days, like day after day, it's just gray and raining, and when that happens, and it can literally last weeks, when that happens, it becomes really frustrating because there is only so much you can do indoors. Like the thing about having a sunny weather, that it opens up a huge amount of activities outdoors, right? Whereas if winters are cold and rainy, and when I say winters, I mean like from October to April, or at least that's how it was this year, almost like until May. It was not the best like year in terms of weather. Yeah, there is only so much you can do indoors. Like at some point you just are sick of being inside. You want to go and you want to do stuff. Like the nature, as I said, is beautiful, but you cannot really enjoy it if it's raining. There is always people who say like, oh, there is no bad weather, there is only bad clothing. And I mean, that's true, but come on, tell me you enjoy more walking around or doing a hike under the heavy rain and coldness as much as you enjoy the same hike with the warm weather and a sunny day. It's not the same. You just don't even feel like going outside when it's raining all the time. You don't feel like making plans outside. And it leads to another con, which is winters in Germany are quite boring. And if you're like a family person, which is what I am essentially, that's why I'm here, you know, that's why I'm feeling fine here. If you like spending a lot of time at home, it's gonna be okay for you. But if you really like action, if you like to do stuff, Germany is gonna be super boring for you. Like in winter, you go outside at 6 in the evening, there is no one and nothing. Like shops, bars, cafes, everything is closed already, like at 6 p.m. But yeah, there is a really low variety of things that you can do. You can go to the gym, you can go to certain classes, yeah, like doing, you know, sport. You can go to the cinema, you can go to eat out, and that's it. Like if you don't live in a big city like Berlin, where you can always find events, probably even in winter, it's gonna be quite boring. So what I do when I facing winter season, I plan like certain activities that I will do at home. I have like painting, making candles, and yeah, like just that sort of thing. I mean, now that I had a baby, I'm not bored anymore, but that's how it was, like, yeah, pre-baby times. So yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. The next thing is public transport. In big cities, it's probably okay. Like you can get around by bus, metro, tram, everything that you want. In smaller towns, like public transportations between towns is horrible. The train system in Germany, I was in a shock, because I thought that Spanish trains were bad, and the whole stereotypes about like Germans being so punctual and, you know, I don't know, at least that's what I thought, like trains come at the exact same time, like second to second, as it says in the schedule. And like I have never seen trains being so late and so messed up in Spain, which has a reputation of being like super bad with time and not unpunctual, as it is in Germany. Like it's just horrible. And on top of having this really bad train system, it's also super expensive. Why? Because nobody goes by train, because it's so unreliable, so you have to make it super expensive to at least make it worth. But then even less people go because it's super expensive and bad. So it's like this cycle that I'm not sure how we ended up here. But yeah, for me, that's a huge con, because I don't drive. Actually, recently I also found out, after I had a baby and I move around with a stroller all the time, I found out that in my town there is no lift at the train station to go, you know, to a different platform, which to me was absolutely insane. I mean, yes, I have a baby, but what if I'm a disabled person? I can't go by stairs. And like literally there is no lift, I promise you, there is no. So things like this, like super strange. So because of that, you need a car in Germany. Unless you live in a big city, you need a car to go around. And yeah, my husband drives, so we're fine in that. But if I was alone, like you cannot survive in a small town without a car. Like you literally cannot go around by public transport. So yeah, I find it to be a really big con. The next thing is bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a weird thing. When I moved here from Spain, I was convinced that it cannot be worse than Spanish bureaucracy. Like Spanish bureaucracy was really bad. But German bureaucracy, it's like, it's not bad, it's just another level. Like in Spain, the problem was that something would always go wrong. Like it always wouldn't work, it was a bit complicated, then you go into these websites, trying something, the links won't work, things like this, you know. But in Germany, you won't even have a website to do anything. Like in Germany, bureaucracy is so complicated, and most of the time you have to do it on paper, and that's freaking insane. My friend who is living in Germany for a long time already said that in Germany you have to have an extra room in your house just for all the paperwork, the bills, and everything that has to do with bureaucracy. Everything is sent by post. You constantly get letters from German government, from anywhere, like even from private things like gym subscriptions and I don't know, insurance. Like everything is just done by normal regular post rather than by email, or yeah, like it's not digitalized. Yeah, like generally the bureaucracy is just crazy. It's just so complicated. Like the amount of things that I had to do, for example, to get my maternity benefits, it was actually insane. It took me multiple phone calls to this German government facilities, sending them posts several times, and it took them 6 months to process my application. In Germany, everything is just so complicated when it comes to bureaucracy. And yeah, in general, like not just bureaucracy, but I think in general, for some reason, this is the impression that I got, my husband got, again, after living in like other countries, that in Germany, everything is more complicated than it needs to be. Things like the rubbish system. Like, the rubbish system is just so complicated, and I talk about it in details in another video. The medical system, I said that the medicine is quite high quality, and I do think so, but on the other hand, like, the way it's organized, it's really weird and complicated, and there is a lot of things like this that are for some reason like more complicated than they have to be. And yeah, that just creates like a lot of additional friction, I guess, in Germany. And the last thing in the list of cons, this video is gonna be massive. And I feel really weird talking about it because I still don't understand what is going on here. But it's like technologies in Germany are somehow stuck around 30 years ago. Yes, in Germany, in this super developed country in the center of Europe, they have a massive problem with technologies. Nothing is digitalized. I will show you some of the websites that I saw. Like, I came here 1.5 years ago, and I was trying to find places to go to, like yoga studios or just things to do. And I was looking at websites of certain places that I found, and I was like, oh my gosh, this must be like super old website that they probably don't do yoga anymore. It seems like it was from 20 years ago, like it's not updated. I almost close it, but then I see the message from the same like month and the same year, meaning that it was completely up to date, but the website looked like it was 2000s. No kidding. Businesses here don't really have websites. Things like restaurants, they won't have like a menu in the internet so that you can, you know, order food from them. For example, if you cannot get a medical appointment online, just in the internet, there is no option to do that. You have to call them. Like, mostly everywhere you have to call or go in person. Like, there is no way to do anything digitally, like not even sending an email. And there's a lot of things like this. I cannot think of another example right now, but yeah, there is something really weird going on here with technologies. Alright guys, I hope this video is interesting. Let me know in the comments if you are planning to move to Germany, or if you're already in Germany and do you agree with the points that I made. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.